everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV Edition. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we are working our way through Tales From the Crypt, the HBO anthology show from the 90s. This is going to be Season 6, Episode 10. It is called In the Groove. And if you can't tell, I'm doing a bit of a radio voice today. I'm doing a little bit of extra gravitas behind the words to make them sound good. Because I'm on the radio. Tim, we're going to get steamy, we're going to get hot and sexy, we're going to talk about dirty things. Full spoilers for the episode, as per usual. The reason why I was cracking all those jokes is because this episode revolves around a radio host, Miguel Ferreira, who's been on the show before. He was in like season 2 or 3 in an episode.
I was trying to think. That was like that kind of. It wasn't a very good one, but it was like Does it have something to do with like photographers, like a model and a?
Yeah. It was a Terry Hatcher episode. She was like a model, and
right.
he was like this jealous agent or something like that. If I remember right. But you might know him from Twin Peaks. You might know him from RoboCop. I think maybe his most famous role. And he's popped up a bunch of stuff, but specifically this time period, popped up in a lot of stuff. So it was nice to see him. Also, Wendy Malick, I recognised. I had to look up her name, but she's an actress who popped up in a lot of stuff. She was in Just Shoot Me, the sitcom, if you remember that.
Yeah, that's the frame of reference I have.
Yeah. So like always, also Slash from Guns N' Roses has got a cameo because reasons.
Yeah, I thought he looked like him. I'm not too familiar with the band though, so I wasn't sure if it was exactly him. But
I wouldn't say I'm super familiar with the band. I'm not a big Guns N' Roses guy, but I just kind of assumed it felt like the sort of cameo this show would have is just having Slash walk in for a scene. So I just kind of went with it. Yeah, he's just another radio DJ. That's all he is. So yeah, that's the episode is basically he has this racist show. Miguel Ferrer has this racist show where he'll talk to like a co-host, a female co-host, and he'll try and get people to call in with dirty stories or talk dirty to him. Honestly, when you really stop and look at this, it feels like this is like one big giant cry for help. He just wants people to call in and be sexy with him. But the whole point is he's meant to be, enticing the audience. But the ratings aren't very good until he's saddled with a partner that he doesn't want, because his sister runs the station because their mother left the station to them both in her will. And she insists he has this partner. He's not happy about it, but she ends up being really good and hot and steamy, and they make a lot of dirty talk, and they get the ratings. And then she kind of manipulates him into talking about other things in the show, which makes him angry, which leads to a plot to kill his sister. That's the episode. And then of course there's the twist. We'll get to that in a bit. Tim, did you enjoy In the Groove?
I surprisingly did. I don't think it's a very good episode, but man, I love Miguel Ferreira, and I think he really holds this one together. I could easily see kind of hating it if it was just some no-name person didn't
Anyone
really
else.
have a lot of someone that you don't like or doesn't have charisma, because the story itself isn't that interesting, and I spent most of the episode just trying to figure out what is this show, because it's so weird. It just starts with him like you said, he's talking about basically having sex with this person and taking off their stockings and stuff, and then I know I'm assuming around this time was probably when Howard Stern was getting big and stuff, but I feel like he still did interesting stuff. He would still do interviews and talk to people about sex and stuff. It wasn't just literally describing sex on the air. It seems so weird, but again, Miguel Ferrer is so good and interesting that he kind of made it a worthwhile watch for me.
I wouldn't go as far to say I liked it, but
Sure.
he definitely is what made it watchable. I didn't hate my time with it because of him. He turned what was a pretty lackluster episode that had because honestly the ending didn't really even make that much sense to me. It was kind of weird, because the whole thing is that Valerie, the partner, basically, without making it seem like her idea, convinces him to kill his sister, right? So they're going to play a pre-recorded show, so they've got an alibi while he goes to the house and kills his sister, because his sister's going to take him off air because he said bad things about their mother on the air, and that was in the clause that
he can't defame mother.
Can't defame mother. And more on how they treat each other's brother and sister in a bit, because I've got a few comments on that. But So I can sort of see the twist coming. Oh, Valerie's in cahoots with the sister all along. That's what the twist is going to be, right? And he gets in the house when she's sleeping, and the sister jumps up. She's got a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, we've been planning this all along. You fell for it. Oh, she's going to be great. She was basically, I was just breaking in the new talent. She's going to take over your slot, and then she shoots him in self-defense, and we end the episode with a scene of Valerie on the radio, just like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry to tell you, but Gary's dead. But now I'm here." And then someone immediately phones in and says, "Oh, I'm just so, I love the show so much, and people will be calling in. Let me tell you, we like you so much." And I'm like, "But you barely get a chance to really sample what she would be like as a host. She was just kind of there as the sex sparring partner up until this point."
Yeah, and the episode moves really fast. Like, I mean, you could make a point in saying like, oh, they were kind of doing this for weeks. They just didn't show it to you. But the way it feels is like, it feels like, I don't know, she was probably only in there for like a few days, if anything.
It was over a week because at one point, when he's being all smug about the ratings being up, the sister says, "It's only been a week. Don't get too cocky."
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's at least over a week. Maybe it's two by the time we get to the end of the episode. But yeah, it's not a big. It's not a big.
It's
jump.
like, again, this show is so, and also it's kind of weird that like, yeah, at the end the person on the phone is saying like, oh, like, we love you, like, we'll do great, we'll be like calling in and stuff, but it's like you have no idea what kind of show she's gonna run. Like, is she still gonna do like a weird sex show, or is she? Because obviously in that moment, she's doing a more like, hey, like, let's talk about like feelings and grieving kind of thing.
I mean, I guess what she was trying to like force, because the whole thing where she gets him to talk about his mother, she's basically acting all mopey because she's like, "Oh, I want to talk about other stuff on the show," and he gives in, and she's just kind of like, they've got like a little computer screen where she'll type like what to say. From across the room, and she just says anger, so he starts talking about anger, and he's just sort of kind of like, he's just winging it. He's like, "Oh, anger, yes, anger is good. You have to let out anger. You have to let your anger out because there's authority figures," and she leads him to authority figures, and leads him to mother. So I'm thinking she's a psychiatrist, and she wants to do like a Fraser Crane type show. Like, okay, right. That's my guess based on what we see in this episode.
It's crazy to me that anyone would keep listening at that point, because he's like, he's not like, it feels like it takes so long for him to get to the mother. Like, before that, he's really not saying anything. He's just kind of like, yeah, anger. What's anger? Anger's okay. Like, you feel angry sometimes. Like, if you're listening to the radio, like, how long before you're like, what is this? Like, you just change the channel.
I guess it's like, because he's got the slot in the middle of the morning, so it's like 5 a.m. So people are driving to work. They're busy paying attention to the road.
If it's that early, like, yeah, I didn't pay attention to like what time it was, but that makes it even weirder to do like a kinky sex show that early in the morning.
Yeah, what was funny about it is that was the news slot, was like the dead of night. The original slot before he got pushed was the actual sort of the prime driving to work slot. It was, that was like 7 till 9. I was like, what? Who's in the mood for this when they're driving to work?
Yeah, that is so bizarre.
Because when she said you're getting the late slot, I thought she meant like midnight, and I thought that was actually good, because people, if they're up till midnight, that's when they're feeling a bit relaxed, they want to get kinky.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll get horny at any hour. I don't, my horniness does not go by a clock. But I feel like on the whole, people are more on average in the mood at night time before they go to sleep, not when they wake up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, sure, if you've got a day off and you wake up, your loved one's there, maybe you're feeling a bit kinky, that can happen, sure. But when you're on the way to work, you're commuting, you're like half asleep, you're trying not to crash the car, you're just like, you got like half of a bit of breakfast and you're just kind of miserable and you kind of hate your life and you want to drive off the bridge, you're in the mood for some sex talk at that point. And that was an insight into Tim's typical morning for anyone who wants to know where I got the inspiration for that rant.
Oh, you've been reading my journals. Fantastic. So, yeah, yeah, it's so bizarre, and I thought that was kind of funny. Like, it's like a little kind of aspect of this episode, but it is something that I kept kind of, when I would think about it, like, this is like so weird that this is even a thing that he's doing. But Um,
I have to
yeah,
imagine that if it's based on any real thing, then it's like 10 times whatever the real thing is, because the real thing
for
is
sure.
probably much more. Yeah, they'll have some sort of sexy talk, but
Mhm.
it's not this. It's not
Yeah,
just.
well,
I mean, this is
like,
basically audio porn at points. The way they're just talking to each other.
yeah. Well, like I never like really listened to like Howard Stern or anything, but I feel like that's probably what they were trying to go for. But I mean, as far as I know, with that, like I think it would be more like he would talk to people about like taboo subjects. Like he might talk to like someone
Mm.
about sex and what and the kind of stuff they like. But yeah, I don't think there was a lot of like role play stuff. And then I didn't really know like was that the whole show or was that just like an opening like skit they would use to get going and then like they would take callers and talk about it like
I
who
think the intent was
knows.
to take callers. I think that was the intent, but
But then like
um,
what are the calls? They're just like, hey, good job you guys, that really got me off, thank you, or is it like,
well,
oh,
the only one we actually get to hear really is the woman who calls in when he asks, "Oh, call in with your your craziest sex act. Well, what's the craziest thing you've done sexually?" And this woman calls in and she's like, "I'm doing it right now while I'm listening to you."
yeah. Oh yeah, and
And
then he does like the mother joke and
yeah, don't call here, mum. Yeah. So on the subject of this weird family relationship, because so two things. At one point, after his ratings are getting good and he has the fight with his sister, as she's leaving, he says, "Why don't you listen to the show? That's the only thing that'll crawl into your bed at night." And I thought, yeah, because she wants to listen to her brother do sex role play. That's what's going to do it for her. And it's
yeah.
later on, he called her babe. Who calls their sister babe?
That's a little strange, but I feel like that's more of a like a Hollywood thing. Like I feel like you don't see it as much anymore, but I
Mm.
do think in the '90s that was like a cliche of like Hollywood types would call everyone babe.
I mean, I no,
Like
but
it's still kind of weird, but yeah.
I can see it for your partner. I can even see it for platonic friends as a
Mhm.
as a sort of pet joke thing. But your sister, your
Yeah, that is
sister,
strange. And also like think about like when the mother was alive. I bet he like was
hey
either trying
babe.
to do this show or well like I just imagine him like trying to pitch the show to his mom or something. Like I don't know if he had a show while she was alive, but I'm sure he at least would have tried to get one.
Mum, I've got this idea for a show. I'm going to talk about how hard my dick is on the air. Do you think it's a good idea? She's just sitting there horrified, and that's probably why he only got half of this station because he mentions at one point she had multiple stations in different cities, and he's
Yeah.
complaining that he only got this station and he throws his fit on the air. I'm like, that's why, because you pitched her this deranged show, and she went, no, that's bad for business. That's bad.
And it's also funny like how easy he gets like set off like it's not like she kept like poking and prodding him until he just like had no other choice. She was just like types in mother and like he just like is off to the race. He's like mother, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah, mother, I hate my
oh,
mother. Yes, that
but
bitch. Ah.
ag- again though, man, you can't beat an angry Miguel Ferreira.
Oh yeah,
Like
he's great. I mean, the material's kind of ridiculous, but he's going full ham in the best way possible.
yeah,
So it's kind of worth it just to watch him do his thing. And
yeah,
he's in every scene
like
pretty much. So
oh yeah, yeah, it's a total yeah tour de, tour de force for him. Uh, but yeah, no, it's a bad episode that I think is made enjoyable pretty much because of him.
yeah. So unfortunately, I can't say this really adds to the not bad episode list for the last couple of
Sure.
seasons.
Yeah.
We've only got a few of them. This one I don't think adds to that list, even though it was easier to get through than a lot of the bad episodes that we've had.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Tales from the Crypt this week.
Mm. And then wait, did we mention that she shoots him, right? That's the
Yes,
whole
we.
thing.
I
Okay.
did mention
All
that.
right.
It's such a small part though. I just kind of glossed over. It's like, yeah, she shoots him in self-defense. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it really is kind of like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's
by
such
the
a
end.
nothing moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know what you thought of the episode, and let us know the craziest thing you've ever done. Please don't. I don't want to read that in the comments. But watching someone in an actual radio booth does make me. It gets me hyped for doing the show, Tim. I'm like, yes, sitting in front of a mic and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That's one thing I was kind of thinking about. Like, oh man, this is like a kind of like a dead thing. Like, there's like, well, like there's obviously still like radio people, but I feel like isn't as common. Like, you don't see that kind of scene that much anymore in like movies and TV of like the
honestly,
disc jockey.
It still exists, I think, primarily because of driving. I feel like if people didn't drive, and that's not to say that you can't listen to podcasts in the car now, because you absolutely can. But I feel like there's so many people, like, people our age. I think anyone our age and under. There's some people who will listen to the radio, sure, but I think a lot of our generation and lower, we go to podcasts because we don't get radio shows about like obscure horror movies on the radio. We get that's where we find podcasts for that. We find podcasts for comic book discussions. We find podcasts for specific things that we're interested in.
I feel like what has kind of replaced like that scene of the the disc jockey in a radio booth with all like the cassette tapes and stuff. Like, now the scene is like the podcaster in his mom's basement with like a bunch of comic books in the background. Like,
well, you saying that's what we're aspiring to? That's the peak? That's where we're heading, Tim?
Oh yeah, we're going down.
All right. Well, on that delightful note, that has been Tales from the Crypt. So, thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you want to go over there, you get a bunch of exclusives. You get this early as well, these Tales from the Crypt discussions, and you get some other stuff here or there too. You get to vote on some of the movie discussions. You get some exclusive content and so on. So go and have a look. But there's also just handy links. If you go to Patreon, you get a link of all the shows we do, all the audio feeds we have for all the various things, so it's worth checking it out regardless. But that is this, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Scary TV, and we will see you next time.